Okay, we're just going to stop that. How are we doing today, everybody? What is going on? It is a beautiful Friday. I hope you liked that I added a little spring flair to the countdown today. I always like to add a little seasonal aspect to the countdown sometimes, just change it up a little bit. It's always fun to do. What is going on, everybody? Got to say hello to all of our awesome people. It's great to see you guys in the comments. It's great to be here live with you today. Now, I did put a prompt, a question for you guys down at the bottom here of the screen. I do want to know this. So if you're feeling bashful or you're feeling shy today, I would like for you to find that 5 seconds of courage and just post, because I guarantee what you're struggling with, I guarantee somebody else is struggling with the same thing. So don't ever feel like you can't share, and don't ever feel like you're alone. I just want to know, because it's going to help me help you. What is it that you're struggling with these days? I would like to know, when it comes to creating content, whether it's live video, podcasting, whatever, what's kind of got you kind of grumbly a little bit right now? What is it? Somebody posted earlier that it was coming up with fresh ideas. BP on the air said, coming up with fresh ideas. I guarantee many of you in the audience also struggle with the same thing. So again, I would like to know. I would like to see a variety of responses here, because again, this is going to help me help you. Today, we're doing a live Q&A. I am going to share, we're going to talk a little bit about engagement. I always like to kind of come on and have a few tips and a few things to share when it comes to coming on live with you. And when I do a live Q&A, I like to at least start the conversation with something. By the way, what I'm sharing with you is what you should be doing too. By the way, are you catching what I'm doing here? So we are going to talk about engagement today. And so I have a few things I want to share with you about that. But then I also would like you to post any questions you have for me. So we're going to do a live Q&A. I'm going to be on here for about an hour today, and we're going to hit the ground running. So for those of you that are new to the show, hello, welcome. My name is Melanie Diane Howe. I am a live streaming mentor. I am a brand ambassador for StreamYard, and I love this product so much. And there's definitely recent news, as many of you know, many of you may not know this yet, is StreamYard was recently acquired by Bending Spoons. When I had never heard of Bending Spoons, but when I learned that they also own Evernote, which is my 100% favorite note-taking app. In fact, I would say out of all the apps I use, and I use a lot of productivity apps, I love them. I'm kind of a productivity app junkie. It is by far the one that I have been using the longest. I started using it forever ago. Forever ago. I'm talking like 15 years ago. I remember I was like I was working for a printing company a long time ago. I remember sitting on my iPad using it. And what I loved about it, why I started using it, was that I could go visit my client, take notes during those meetings, and then I could be back at my desk and have those notes on my desktop too. So that was a long time ago. I mean, I think probably 15 years ago at least. And I loved using it then, and I love using it now. And it's like crazy. So when I learned that they own that app, I thought, okay, this has to be great news, right? Because they obviously know about great apps. So anyway, I'm not going to talk about that acquisition in today's show. If you have questions about it, I am not the person to answer those questions. However, what I would like to encourage you to do is definitely go over to our Facebook community. You can actually just search StreamYard community and you will find it over on Facebook. In fact, the Bending Spoons team is already actively engaging in that community. So if you have questions, there's already a post up there that you can find where you can share your thoughts and ideas. There's a recent YouTube video that was just posted on the StreamYard YouTube channel talking about some next steps. There will probably be a lot more information shared very soon. But today in today's show, we're going to talk about your marketing, your content, using StreamYard, tech gear, all that fun stuff. So if you have questions about that new acquisition, then I encourage you to go over to Facebook, post it in there, and I'm sure that somebody will be able to get in touch with you and get you the information you're looking for. I'm choosing to say this is an exciting time. I don't know what all the next steps are, but for now we're here, right? We're here, we're hanging out still like we usually do on this lovely Friday. So today, I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you're struggling with, but I also want to get your questions. So if you've got a question for me, post it in the comments with a Q in front of it, so that I can use the beautiful starred comments feature and put it in the queue. So I do see some awesome stuff coming in. Got to say hello to my friends here in the comments. Michael Daniels is here. It's great to see you, Michael Daniels, hanging out with us. I always love it when you see other creators coming on the show. I saw Marianne in the comments as well. We got Creator Classroom back. She's a Canva expert. But then I saw like Marianne, where are you? There she is. Marianne's also in the content today too, in the comments today. I love it when I have other creators and other peers in the industry hanging out with me today. Because you know what? If I can answer your question, they might be able to answer it too. So, all right. So we got Desert Adventures in Arizona here hanging out with us. That's fantastic. Great to see you. Let's see. We got Park Bros is here. Lawrence Wilson, right? Yeah. So it's awesome. I'm super glad to see you. And I did see your comment earlier, so I knew you changed your handle. So really would love to know more about that, Lawrence, and why you chose to do that and how that's working out for you. So, all right, let's see. Ringmaster Ray is here. It's great to see you as well. Again, like I said, Marianne is here hanging out with us in the comments. We've also got Precision Shots has some struggle. Okay, I'm going to star some of these struggles because I do want to come back to them for sure, because we're going to talk about some of this stuff today. It's going to be great. Let's see. All right, I found that one. Just reading the comments. Lawrence says he wants to hear more about engagement ideas. We tend to do a good amount of polls and people love them. I love polls. Polls are great. What else can we do with that premise? Fantastic. That's a great question. Great comment for sure. All right. So Desert Adventures in Arizona. I see you with your struggle. For sure. Let's see. Somebody thinks I'm nervous. I am definitely not nervous today. I'm actually pumped and excited. So super excited about that. Dream Talking with Vicky's here. Good to see you. Good to see you here. All right, so let's jump in, right? I think that I've got, let's see. I'm looking for I see some great questions coming in, great comments coming in. Okay, I see it. Yes, I'm pumped. That's right. Let's go. Okay. All right, so get engagement. I'm gonna talk about a few engagement things. Keep your questions and your comments coming. Put a Q in front of it, like I said, and that helps me out. So the reason I want to talk about engagement, and hey, the white elephant in the room here maybe is that we talk about engagement a lot. I talk to you about engagement a lot. Here's why we talk about engagement so much. Live streaming is all about engagement and relationship building. And you cannot build a relationship with your audience if you're not having two-way conversation. So engagement is great for the algorithm, and it's great for your metrics, and it's great for giving, the social media apps signals that your content is valuable. If people are engaging, then they automatically look at that as a stat that basically says, this must be good stuff because people are engaging with it. So of course, all that's important. I don't want to talk about that stuff though. I really, truly want to talk about the deep, because if you focus too much on numbers and stats, I have to tell you, I think that you could potentially lose the true connection. Whether that's like a spiritual connection you have with your content, or a passion you have with making a major difference in something important to you, or you just in generally you love teaching, you love sharing the information, and you love helping people, right? There's got to be some sort of emotional piece to what you're doing. And if you're focusing only on stats, so if you're only focusing on getting engagement for stats, you're going to lose touch. And that's as simple as that. And I know this, I see it, and it will come out in your content. So focus less on the stats here. Today, we're talking more about building this relationship with your audience, right? So that is why engagement is important, because how can you build a relationship with your audience if you aren't getting feedback or hearing from them, right? You're just essentially making a bunch of assumptions about what they need or what they want. And so it's important for you to have this engagement so that you can have this two-way conversation. So that's one of the things I love about live video, is that it's literally a conversation. Now, you can post a video that's just a pre-recorded video and people can comment and you can respond to those comments. That's considered two-way conversation, but it's very different, as you all know. It's nothing is more special than when you are literally live talking with your audience and they're able to respond to you as well as you respond to them, just like I was just in the beginning of the show, kind of interacting with people. And I will say, I got to give a quick shout out to Creator Classroom, because she accidentally got blocked last time I was live because we had all those crazy people coming, and when they were doing the quick, they were having to block all these people quickly, they accidentally clicked on her profile. So she was temporarily blocked. And I have to say, Jennifer, you're one of my favorite people that comes on the show. You're always so great. So I'm glad that you're back in business with us and able to comment on our tabs. But anyway, my point is, I wouldn't know her if I weren't paying attention. And so I am going to talk about that in a moment, when I'm going to call them people like the Creator Classroom or Lawrence Wilson, or Marianne, or Video for Bosses, and I'm not even looking at the comments, so I don't know who all is commenting now, but the frequent flyers. You're going to develop frequent flyers. These are your top contributors, whether it be, they're commenting in your Facebook group, or they're commenting, on your posts, or they are live with you typically when you go live. These are your top contributors, right? I like to call them frequent flyers because they come back around and they keep coming and they keep coming. And I just like using that phrase because it's fun. It just sounds fun, better than top contributors. Top contributors sounds like it's a contest. It's not. So anyway, we're going to talk about frequent flyers in a moment. But one of the things that's great is that I know, for example, that the Creator Classroom specializes in Canva for a couple of reasons. One, she talks about it. I actually will prompt things. I'll say things, and I look at her comments. So engaging and actually responding to your audience is very key. That's, again, why I call this two-way conversation. But sometimes it's not so simple, right? Sometimes you go out there and people aren't necessarily commenting. They're not necessarily posting while you're live. You see that you've got 10 live viewers or 120 live viewers or whatever. And I will say, especially those of you who are live streaming to smaller audiences, you're not going to have as many people show up to your live as maybe some of you with larger audiences. But what's interesting is that sometimes when you have that smaller audience, don't take it for granted, because that smaller audience, you can absolutely go way above and beyond and just delight them. Maybe you have 2 people commenting on your live. You're the only 2 people commenting. Well, delight them. Go above and beyond for them. That's an opportunity for you to have a one-on-one conversation with those 2 people. And that sometimes can be a blessing in disguise. It might feel like, oh, I've only got 2 people commenting, but those are 2 very engaged people. You're not distracted by all the other stuff. You can literally take that as an opportunity and just go take a deeper dive with those 1 or 2 individuals. So don't ever think about again, if you think too much about the numbers, you're going to lose touch. And so but sometimes, again, like I mentioned, it's not so easy to get people to comment, right? So what do? There are some things that you need to do 100% to get them to engage. And I will say this sounds, I've shared this before, and it's extremely important. You have to actually prompt them. So I will tell you, especially if you're a newer content creator, your audience may not realize you want them to comment. I know it feels weird, because especially if you're, actively involved in YouTube yourself and you're always commenting on videos or whatnot, it's not that obvious to everyone. There are a lot of lurkers out there, or just listeners or passive viewers. meaning they're multitasking. They are on a walk. They're on the treadmill. They're working. They're cooking. Last night I was listening to Rob Greenlee on the show last night. And I was literally not commenting because I had my phone on over on the side in the kitchen, but I was cooking dinner. I couldn't really comment and cook dinner at the same time, but I wanted to listen to the show. And so I literally didn't make a single comment on the show. Now, if something had happened and something really hit me and I was like, ooh, I'm feeling that. I really need to post my thought about that. Then I may have stopped and gone and commented, right? So sometimes you need to prompt them. You need to tell them what you want. In the beginning of the show, I gave you a perfect example as I took the banners feature in StreamYard and I posted a question for the audience. I said, I really want to know from you. I want you to tell me, what are you struggling most with right now in your content journey? And I talked about it a little bit in the show in the beginning, and I said, please comment. And I want to talk about some of these things. This is going to help me help you. This is a prompt. This is an example of you prompting your audience to comment. Now, other ones you see often are, hey, where's everybody tuning in from? And many of you are used to this because I won't even put that up there. And a lot of you will say, hey, tuning in from, NOLA, tuning in from Arizona, tuning in from, Belgium, wherever. And that's just because a lot of streamers and content creators will actually use that as a way to just kind of get the audience warmed up to commenting. I love it. There's nothing wrong with that. I also like to use a very specific question sometimes, because sometimes when you just leave things open, you say, let me know how you're feeling. You need to be more specific. So be specific in your prompts. What specifically do you want your audience to comment about? So earlier, I've already forgotten who it was. I've already forgotten Jennifer. Sorry, I got distracted by this. You can do polls. So a good, easy way is to maybe say, you could say, have you ever, in fact, last time I was on the show, I had Kenya Kelly on the show, and we were talking about shorts. And I think I even said something like, where are you with your, something? And I said, scale of 1, 2, or 3, like 1 if this, 2 if this, 3 if that. And people started commenting. That's an easy way for people to respond. Not everybody wants to create a custom comment or a custom response, but if you have a poll and you want to say, do you love the spring weather? Do you love spring or do you prefer winter and it makes you sad? Yes, if you love spring, winter if you love winter, whatever. And then that was a really bad example, but whatever, you get the point. So polls are another great way. Again, but what is really important is that when people engage with you and they start answering your question, you must acknowledge them. You cannot just have people comment and then you not comment back. Now, I will tell you, those of you that have larger audiences that are maybe streaming to a very large live audience and you have a lot of comments coming, this is going to be harder for you. It is part of the growing pains, if you will, of getting a larger audience, which is why I personally really think that this is key for those of you that have smaller audiences. It's very critical that you develop deep relationships with your frequent flyers, right? Your early adopters of you and your content. So if you have a large audience, you might need to think about some support. So you could use the StreamYard Teams feature, for example, have another user who's a moderator in the studio with you, helping you kind of star certain comments that you want to acknowledge, or they could be bringing comments up for you so that you can see that stuff, so that you can focus on delivering your content and whatnot, and they can bring up the right ones that they want you to acknowledge. But it's very important that as people are engaging with you, that you acknowledge them or respond to them within reason. Okay, so within reason. Sometimes you can over-engage, meaning you can don't read every single comment. Don't let every single comment distract you as well. But it's very important, if you're going to prompt your audience to do something and then they start responding the way you ask them to, that you acknowledge that they did that, right? And that's really important. So I'm going to look at right now. I'm going to come back to the comments, because I also like to take a little, little temporary, stop to be able to engage with my people. So, all right, let me see real quick. I see some good questions in here, so I'm gonna grab those. Make sure that I am seeing everybody. Yeah, so Marianne agrees. She said, good to also name your regulars. I asked my community, and we are the Plannerettes. Ooh, the Plannerettes. That's fun. So I actually think that's kind of cool. So what Marion is referring to is when you have, like, in fact, it's funny because StreamYard, I remember us talking about this like 3 years ago. We were like, we should come up with a name for our audience members or our users. And we really struck. It was like StreamYarders, StreamYardians. Like it was kind of a difficult, the ducks. Like we couldn't really come up with one. And I'm not sure we ever really actually came up with one. StreamYardians, I think I kind of like though, by the way. StreamYardians. Yeah, I like that one. I'm not actually sure that was one of the ideas at the time, but the point is that by naming them, you create a sense of community. And so all of your regulars, frequent flyers, if you can name them, it's a great way to get them to feel connected to something. And so that is actually a really great suggestion. And I love that idea from Marianne. Thank you for chiming in on that. Look at this. Lawrence subscribed to the Creator Classroom. This is another thing that can happen when you are engaging and you're helping your people feel that sense of community. And it is going to increase the engagement, by the way, when they feel a part of something, because they're going to start talking to each other in the comments, which some of you are doing. And so Lawrence Wilson here with Park Bros, he, because Creator Classroom, she's always here hanging out. He's like subscribed to her channel. So, you can also create a sense of community where people are also connecting with each other, which is honestly, that's a beautiful thing when you can start to do that. I love that. Voice for the Voiceless said quality over quantity. Yeah, I think that was in reference to some of what I was talking about earlier when it comes to the size of your audience and the amount of live viewers that you have. Desert Adventure says, I always acknowledge each person who comes into my live stream. Fantastic. And honestly, 100%. While you can, do it. It's 100% a thing. Now, another thing that I'm doing that I think is really important is that I am also displaying comments. So again, hopefully you're all using StreamYard, and that's why you're here. One of the original reasons I started using StreamYard, I say it is the original reason, is because I wanted to be able to display comments. I think it is one of the easiest ways to reward your audience when they are engaging with you. And that is actually the next thing I wanted to really point out. I'm talking about acknowledging your audience, but you want to reward them. And rewarding and acknowledging for me kind of go together. So when you respond to somebody, you answer their question, or you bring their comment up on screen, or whether you celebrate them, give them a shout out, whatnot. People do feel a sense of connection with you. And so you need to make sure that you are, again, responding, and think of it as you're rewarding them for commenting, because them commenting is exactly what you want them to do. And if you just ignore them, or you don't really give it the extra, flair that maybe you can do, then they may not want to comment again. They may not feel like it's worthwhile to them. Hey, look, I'll be honest with you. Everybody has a lot of choices out there about where they can tune in, how they can spend their time. Right now, super grateful for all of you that are hanging out with me live. Some of you are catching the replay. And if you're caught it this far, you're probably one of those that's going to catch it all the way through, and you're going to probably be multitasking while you're listening to this replay. Now, if you are, make sure you comment on this video after. I would love to know, because then I'm going to go back and watch those comments after this live video is posted, and I can still talk to you then as well. So again, we want to reward the audience so that they feel seen. It's extremely important that we do that. So again, it can get difficult when you start getting a lot of comments coming in. It can be very, very challenging. So let me see. I'm going to see, by the way, I'm checking in again. I see. I'm starting some stuff. I got a blend of questions and a blend of thoughts around the struggles. Oh, this is an interesting thought. Cactus Jack said, it's true, like the old talk radio thing. 90% of people never called the show. 90% of people watching never comment also. Pretty true. I think that I would say, at least in this show, 90% might be a high number. I would say it's more like 60 to 70%. Well, I'll say 70 to 80 now that I say that out loud. I say 70% to 80%. And I know this because I can see the live viewers, and I can roughly high level count quickly how many of you are commenting. And it's probably 70% most of the time on the people actually commenting in the show. But it is very true that a lot of people, now replay, hardly anybody's going to comment on that, right? But anyway, okay. I am going to look a little I see Coffee Talk and Tech is here hanging out with us. It's great to see you. Oh, thank you, the Open Mind Podcast. That's very sweet of you. I appreciate that. Yes. Okay. Creator Classroom, she says, I learned this from you. Teach, look at chat, teach, look at chat. Yes. So the whole point when I mentioned earlier, you can accidentally over-engage, but you can also under-engage by not commenting. Again, it's a balance and it does take practice. So if you are new to streaming, just take this as advice. You want to kind of break your stream into segments. And when I say that, I mean, you're going to teach something. So right now I've got like 4 little things I want to share with you about engagement. In between each main point, I am checking in on the chat. So again, teach, make a point, look at your chat, address your chat, then go back to your next point, go back. So that is absolutely the perfect flow when it comes to a good, simply a flow of content. Because if you're engaging while you're in the middle of teaching a point, people can have a hard time following what you're trying to teach because all these little engagements are really kind of like interruptions, right? And so that's why I like to kind of focus on the content and then go to the chat. Focus on the content, then go to the chat. So take these little back and forths, and that's really one of the best ways to do it. It's certainly not the only way to do it, but it's certainly one of the best ways to do it. Aw, Boy in Blue, I appreciate that. I love it when you guys share your feedback because it does, I will say it does, of course, it makes my ego feel great. I mean, come on, who doesn't want to have a pat on the back? But mostly it just it reassures me that, I am helping you reach your goals and do more and more with your life and everything that you're trying to do. I super duper appreciate that. Okay, let me go to my next point because I want to keep going and I want to do some open Q&A. So we're talking about engagement right now, and then I'm going to answer some questions. So we talked about how important it is to prompt your audience, right? So let them know you want them to engage. Give them specific prompts, whether it be a question you want them to answer, try polls. Just don't be afraid to give them something very specific that you want them to say or respond to. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, "Tell me hi in the comments and where you're tuning in from." But then it's also important to acknowledge those comments. So make sure that you don't ignore them when they do. I see this a lot. I will see people put all these questions up and they prompt their audience all the time, and they won't acknowledge a single response or a single comment. And next thing you know, all the comments stop. All the live engagement just falls off halfway through the stream. And it's because people are like, why am I talking to you? You're not talking to me. Nobody wants to be ignored. So it's very important that you acknowledge and reward your audience for commenting. Now, a couple of different takes on engagement. I also want you to consider pre-show engagement. So, for example, before I went live, I actually checked in on some live comments because live comments can start before your live actually goes live, especially on YouTube. So if you're pre-scheduling your live videos, over on LinkedIn or on a Facebook page or a Facebook profile, YouTube, for example, then people can start commenting on that scheduled post. And so it's very important that you acknowledge those comments whenever you can. So go over, check all those, and start responding, because somebody's basically either going to ask you a question before you go live, that's great, or they're going to say something like, "I'm really looking forward to this show, can't wait." You want to respond to those people too. Give them a shout out either while you start your show and say, "Hey, I really appreciated those of you that showed me some encouragement about this content that I'm about to share. So-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. Thanks for, I hope you're here live right now. It was, you said you were excited, whatever." Or just simply go in there and respond to them. The other thing you can do is, and I did it here in this particular live stream, is about 10, 15 minutes before the show, I went on and I actually made a comment on the YouTube chat. And I said, "Hey, looking forward to today's show." And I actually made a reference towards the question I wanted you all to answer before the show was live. So pre-show engagement is also important, and it can kind of warm your audience up. It's going to make them feel connected to you. It's certainly something you can manage and handle. So don't sleep on pre-show engagement as well. In fact, the more you do it, you may start to see more people doing a little commenting before the show, hoping that you see it and respond to them and give them a shout out. I will say this: engagement fosters engagement. When you acknowledge people, you are fostering an environment of engagement. So when you engage back, you are fostering more engagement by doing that. And so that's something that you absolutely want to do. You want it to grow like a weed, to be honest with you. So that's important. Now, With that being said, equally, post-show engagement is also just as important. So maybe this is a comment that comes after you were live. So it's just a simple comment on your, YouTube video or whatever. Or maybe it's a DM. Maybe somebody sent you a private message and said, I really liked your show today, really appreciate it. Or they asked you another question. Do your best not to ignore these. Absolutely acknowledge these comments, because it is, again, all of this is about building relationships with your audience. And so if you ignore those comments or those accolades or those post-show questions, again, you're not letting those people feel seen. And it's extremely important that they do feel seen when they are engaging with you. So also don't forget to go back to your shows after you're done, especially like later that day, and then maybe even a couple of days later. I will say that usually on a live stream, post-show comments tend to not really happen 3 or 4 days after. So it's not as critical that you go back and check later. You should be prompted on it in your notifications, but absolutely try to be very timely in your responses in that first 72 hours after your show is live, and try to respond and acknowledge those people that may be posting after. And once again, the more that happens, that more people are going to do it. They're going to actually know, hey, if I go on after and tell her what I loved about the show, she's probably going to acknowledge it. And again, people want to be seen. They are not making these comments for their health. They're doing it because they want you to know something, and you giving them a response and acknowledgement is going to make them feel seen. And that's extremely important when it comes to engagement. So again, don't ever forget about pre-show and post-show engagement as well. Those are all equally important. Now, check in real quick. Okay. I see a lot of comments about third party, and it's probably about Facebook groups. I can absolutely cover that, and I can get to it. Yes, you can stream to YouTube. So voice for the voiceless. I can stream only on StreamYard. I use it to stream. No, you can stream to YouTube. You can stream to YouTube 100%. Absolutely. That's what I'm doing right now. Okay, so let me... I'm just checking in on the comments real quick before I go to my very last point about engagement. Whoa, that's a big deal. That's a big deal, Jennifer. Okay, Coffee Talk and Tech said, the flow is important. If you try to address every comment in a busy stream, it will overtalk the stream. So he is absolutely right. So John is so great at what he does, by the way. Love his channel. This is just simply reaffirming the whole, you can't over-engage. Engagement's important, but you can't over-engage. And as you get more and more comments and more live comments, you are going to have to get a little choosy with what you do address. It's very important to do that. We got Chris watching over on LinkedIn. I always like to see our LinkedIn folks, because we don't get as many live viewers from LinkedIn. So I always like to say, what's up? And there's a number of people watching over on X. And I feel like the X viewers, as well as the LinkedIn viewers, are the least likely to comment. That is always the case. But look at this. We got Chris is here hanging out. So it's good to see you hanging out with us for sure. It's always fun to see people from LinkedIn and engaging. So I appreciate that. All right, so let's see. I am going to get to my last point, and I kind of teased this earlier, and that was simply frequent flyers. I think this is important, again, especially those of you that don't have huge audiences and you are growing and you want to grow. I can tell you from absolute experience, 100% from pure experience of my own, that if you make sure that you especially reward your frequent flyers, and you make an extra effort to get to know them a little better, right? And you can do this in a number of ways. You can engage with them. If they make a comment, you can say, like, for example, earlier I asked Lawrence Wilson, I said, ooh, you changed your handle. Curious to know why you did that. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he absolutely made a comment about it in the comments about why he did it. So it's just one of those things that it's important to engage them and get to know them in the live chat. But also what I'm getting at here is make the extra effort to learn about them. That might be spend 5 minutes and go stalk them a little bit. Go check out their channel. Go see what it is that they do. Go see what kind of content they're creating so that you know what that is. And then once again, I'm going to tell you right now, if you do that, you are going to have super fans for life. If you take the time to get to know them and understand what their goals are and what they're trying to do, and like, for example, learn their first names. So learn their names. That is one of those things. I have a number of channel handles that I can think of where I know their names. And it's not because I've ever spoken to them ever in my life. Not once. Not even DMs. But I know their names because I asked. I used to do this all the time on my own channel. I asked. I was like, hey, tell me your name so I can kind of get to know you. In fact, I have like a note card over here where I was keeping track of them and writing them down. But if you can take things to that next level for your super fans, your frequent flyers, you are just creating the deepest, richest connection. And I will tell you, if I had a whiteboard behind me, I would draw you the marketing funnel. Marketing 101. You've got the funnel, right? The top of the funnel is people discovering you, learning about you. The next phase of the funnel is them making a decision. Do they want to, they're going to research you. They're going to check you out. And then the next phase of the funnel, which it gets narrower and narrower because the people become less and less, there might be an opportunity. So they're either going to decide to subscribe, they're going to decide to buy your product, decide to go to your store, whatever that might be. And then the bottom of the funnel, well, then they're customers at that point. And at the very bottom of the funnel, the smallest section are your advocates. They are your super fans. They are the people who are going to actually go advocate for you because they love you, they love your product, they love what you do so much that they're going to share about it. And they're going to share about it in comments, they're going to share screenshots, they're going to share their experience, whatever that might be. And guess what that does? When they share and they advocate for you, these are your super fans, your frequent flyers. They are going to refer people because they're going to share about you. And guess what? People are going to learn and discover you that didn't know about you before, and they're going to drop into the top of your funnel. So it is absolutely a life cycle. And so the super fans, the frequent flyers, the way you create those is you acknowledge them. So again, getting to know them, take it a little extra and get to know them, learn about them, send them a DM, send them something every once in a while and say, I really appreciate you coming onto the comments all the time. I really appreciate what you do. Really appreciate that you shared, XYZ about my product or my content, whatever. This is one of the best strategies and pieces of advice I can give any of you that, again, are trying to grow and build your audience. If you can acknowledge these people and do this, it will absolutely pay you back 10 times the amount of effort that you took to get to know them a little bit. It 100% will. I guarantee it. And so don't forget about those people. Make the effort to learn about them and understand also by doing that, you're also learning about your audience, which is going to help you create better content. So there's so many benefits to putting in that extra effort to getting to know your frequent flyers, your super fans, and whatever you want to call those people, for sure. So that is extremely important. So precision shots. Where did you get that information about the funnel from? I love that and want to study that. To be honest with you, just from learning about marketing, there is a phase. I actually have a video, I made it a long time ago, on my website. It's meldiane.com, and it has a little free e-course. It's very short and sweet, and I talk about that very thing. It's the little customer journey aspect that everybody needs to understand, and that's the way it goes. Tish is here! Tish is here! I just saw your comment, Tish. So Tish says, I've had the pleasure of meeting Mel in real life, but I adored her well before. Super fans is a thing for real, though. Pat Flynn has a whole book about it. That is absolutely true, and it's called Super Fans, I think, Pat Flynn's book. But 100%. Thank you for being here, Tish. It's great to see you. I did get to meet Tish. So Tish is one of those people, very rare, wonderful opportunity where she's been in the comments. She's been over on my channel in the comments, been here in the comments. And then we were at an event, Vid Summit, and I got to meet her in person, and I just got to chat with her. It was fantastic. So every once in a while, you'll actually maybe even have an opportunity to meet some of your frequent flyers in real life as well, which is always fun. And it's always great. And hopefully you are the same authentic person in real life that you are in your content, because I can tell you, I've met some people that I used to follow that were not. And that was very disappointing. And then I've met people that absolutely were. Lori Petrucci, Harris Heller, they are exactly who they are. They are 100%, Pat Flynn, exactly who they are when you meet them in real life. I can tell you that. Okay, so let me get into some of these questions that you guys are posting. And I will tell you this, if I miss your question, if you posted a question and I don't get to it today, because I do have a time constraint today. Sometimes I go live for like 2 hours, as you guys know, but I can't today. But if I miss your question or I don't get to it, do me a favor, go to the Facebook group, post your question and tag me in that post in the Facebook community. 100% please do that. Post the question, tag me, Melanie Diane Howe, okay? And make sure that I see that question. And I will go in there and I will answer it. Or post it after the fact in the comments on this particular video, and either I will answer the question or someone else from the amazing StreamYard team will answer the question for you. So I can already tell, I know I won't be able to get to all of them, but I hope I will. But, it's one of those things I can't say that I will get to all of them. Oh, this is a good idea too. So Maggie, the substitute teacher, said, I also acknowledge first timers, welcome, happy to have you here. That actually is fantastic. That's another really good idea, by the way, is when you're starting your show, as you kind of kick things off, you may say something like, hey, if you're new here, especially if you've just recently done like a guest appearance somewhere, you are absolutely going to have a bunch of new people. So anytime you've gone out and you've done a guest appearance on a podcast or a YouTube video or anything, it is always a really good idea to start your next stream and just be like, hey, those of you that are new here, I want to know, please post in the comments new. And then you can actually see those people, and then you can do exactly what Maggie is saying here, which is going to help them feel like, oh, I'm glad I'm here. I'm being acknowledged. I am being seen, even though I'm not part of the cool kids club yet, and I'm not, I'm new here, right? Nobody ever feels uberly comfortable when they walk into a room and they don't know anyone. So it's great for you to give them a nice warm welcome, but you can't do that if they aren't commenting. So another real cool tip as well. Maggie, I'm really so glad that you shared that, by the way. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to jump into comments and questions. And I'm actually going to do the best I can to get through these pretty quickly. So I may not be looking at the live comments as much for the next 10 minutes, because I want to get through some of these as fast as I can, because I did see a lot of these things come up in the beginning of the show. And I just want to make sure that I acknowledge those of you that did post questions for me. So in the beginning of the show, if you're just tuning in or you just tuned in recently, I did ask the audience, I said, what are you struggling with most right now when it comes to your content journey? And so some of these comments that are coming up are some of those things. So Precision Shot said, different podcast segments. So when you say segments, I think what you're meaning is so I always think it's great when you have a content strategy to have buckets in your content strategy. So for example, let's just say for my content strategy, live streaming is my main overarching umbrella. Really, my main overarching umbrella is putting yourself out there, creating content so that you can get more results for what you want. But the main lane that I have chosen is live streaming, because I love live streaming. Now, I can talk about podcasting, I can talk about video creation, I can talk about all kinds of things, but live streaming is the main theme to my content. Now, underneath that theme, I can break it into segments. I can talk about tech and gear. I can talk about content, like your actual content and marketing strategy. And then I can talk about, technique and confidence. Right? So those are 3 buckets that I can put underneath the main bucket of live streaming. And so I think that's what you mean about segments. So one of the best ways to come up with segments is to think about it just like I just did. What is the main large bucket that you talk about? And then what are the themes? Think about the themes that can belong in there. And everybody can come up with themes. So everyone can come up with themes. I could even have, being guesting and having guests in my content being a theme, meaning it's a lane of my content. I could just have social, subject matter experts come in, and that's its own segment of my content. So coming up with segments really just takes you doing an exercise of brainstorming and breaking things down. Now, one of the ways you can do this if you're not able to identify themes yet is topics. Just start writing Post-it notes, stick them onto a wall, topics that you talk about all the time, whether it's past topics or topics you want to talk about, and start posting them on the wall. Boom, 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 boom. Then sit back and reflect and look at it. And then find the themes. Be like, oh, that talks about gear. That's talking about microphones. That's talking about lights. This is talking about, props and things. This is talking about Elgato products. Okay, got it. Boom, theme, tech. Oh, talking about, being your authentic self, confidence and content. Just that's the next thing to do is start to find the commonalities between all those different topics. So again, you can either start with the themes or you can start with topics and then identify the commonalities and put them into themes. That's how you can come up with segments. That was a really long-winded answer because as you all know, my frequent flyers know, I can get really passionate and I basically do micro courses inside my Q&As. So there you go. Coming up with fresh ideas is also something that BP on the Air posted early in the stream as far as one of their struggles. Honestly, I have content I've done in the past that I just want to kind of refer you to. So if you go over to the StreamYard YouTube channel and then look at the live tab, scroll down because some of the shows that I did in the beginning of the Master Your Marketing segment, which we're not really calling this show that anymore, there was absolutely one where I did about coming up with content ideas. So I just want to maybe point you to that video. Go check it out. Comment on it afterwards. Tag me, and I'd love to see what your thoughts are on that. But honestly, coming up with fresh ideas is simply just it's going to take work and it's going to take some efforts. But there are some strategies and some methods you can use to be able to come up with those ideas. So I definitely talked about that already on the show. Okay, so same thing. So Desert Adventures in Arizona said, I need ideas for live streaming discussion subject that are interesting. So I'll say this, there's two things you can do. If you are trying to figure out what people are interested in, then you're going to have to do something. But I'm going to say, you have to promise me that something, and you have to do this with caution. I want you to go scope out your competition. So I want you to go look at what all the people doing what you're doing. So Desert Adventures in Arizona, go find all the people that are also talking about Arizona, talk about people that are talking about desert adventures, whether it's not in Arizona or whatever. Go stalk your competition, okay? Don't compare yourself. Do not compare yourself and do not let it stop you in your tracks. Because here's the thing you have to remember. A lot of the people that have already figured out what's interesting are probably successful, but they've been doing this longer than you. They've been doing this a while. You cannot compare I've been doing this for 10 years to your just getting started trying to figure it out. So if you go, I'm telling you, the reason I say do this is because if their video shows up in your search, it means it's probably pretty good, which means people are interested in it. Let it give you some brainstorming. Do not copycat their stuff, of course. But the main important thing when I say go scope out your competition is you have to promise me, pinky swear, right? That you are not going to compare yourself and let it put you down in any way, shape, or form. And the minute you start feeling any of that, you need to go look in the mirror and say, I got this too. I'm just getting started. I'm going to be amazing. I'm going to get this going. I'm going to take this for what it's worth. And I'm going to go focus on myself. Do not compare yourself. It's so important. But it is a great way to learn what is interesting because they've kind of figured it out. Let's see. Okay, here we go. This came up a few times, so I am going to address it. Someone told me you can't use third-party streaming services, StreamYard, on Facebook anymore. Is that correct? So clarity, very important. Everybody listen. Facebook, okay, Meta, they basically closed the door for the API, which is the way software connects to each other, okay? It's the way their languages talk. It's how they integrate. They closed this door to their Facebook groups, okay? Not Facebook pages, not Facebook profiles, Facebook groups. And when they did that, this came into place about a couple weeks ago. They announced it way long in advance. It basically turned off any way for a third-party application to integrate into that group. This includes using things like Agora Pulse or Hootsuite to make posts inside your groups. This definitely includes all streaming services, StreamYard included. This is not a StreamYard thing. This was a Facebook decision, and it's only Facebook groups. So it's very important. So not Facebook, but Facebook groups. So the only way for you to stream into a Facebook group right now using a third-party application like StreamYard is to use the custom RTMP, which is a paid feature for StreamYard. So you have to use the custom RTMP feature in order to stream into a group. There are going to be limitations. You will not see comments come back into the StreamYard studio. We have a video about it. There's information about it online everywhere, but that is the clarity. So it's very important. It's just Facebook groups for now. Hopefully that added some clarity for some people. Lawrence over at Park Bro says, do polls have engagement analytics, or are we using it simply to prompt chat? Okay, this is a loaded question. So if you're just doing a poll, meaning like you're putting a comment on the screen and you're having people respond, that is not going to be captured in any data. I mean, you can manually go back and look and see what the answers were. Now, if you're using YouTube polls, the actual YouTube polls feature, I believe there are some analytics that come in with those polls, but you have to do that manually inside the YouTube studio. You can't right now do that with StreamYard. So you can't push a poll out in the StreamYard application right now. You have to do it inside the actual application. All right, so struggle. So cool cakes and crafts with Amelia. Hopefully she's still here. She said, I struggle with going live because I am not a chatty person. Okay, very certainly an interesting concept. And actually a lot of people will say, Mel, I'm just not as energetic and I'm not real social and I'm not that exciting or I'm not entertaining, blah, blah, blah. Insert, all those things, common things here. So I'm not really a good candidate to go live. Well, that certainly could be. You definitely need to be able to deliver content, and it is different than delivering a pre-recorded video. I mean, honestly, like you can do a live stream about one specific topic, and you could talk about it, and your audience can engage with you and ask questions. You can go on and on for an hour about that one thing. You could also create a 3-minute YouTube video and cover almost all the exact same information. So I do think that it's important to understand, once again, the major difference between creating a simple video or regular video is you are getting to the point, you're getting something across, they are in and they are out. And that's what people want when it comes to watching a pre-recorded video. They've searched for it, or they've subscribed to you because they know these things they're going to come out from you, and that's it. A live video is more about the relationship and actually the networking and the commenting and the conversation. So live video is more of a conversation. Now, I like to blend both together. I like to teach something, share something, but also have conversation about it, right? And so if you're not a person who feels very chatty, don't think of it as you have to be chatty. Just think of it as you have to have passion towards something or enough to say about something. Now, also remember, live videos don't have to be a certain amount of duration. They don't have to be an hour long. A live video could be 10 minutes. Now, you're going to get a different level of response or different level of success depending on that length of time. But a live video doesn't have to be you just going and talking. If you can get to the point where your audience is warmed up and understands to engage with you, then you're having a conversation, right? Don't have to be super chatty. You can even be an introvert and do live videos. You might need a nap after you're live, but you can certainly do it. So don't give up on it. And also you can, the other thing I'll say is that if you don't feel like you have a lot of chatty or conversation to share, then introduce other elements to your live video, like have some videos that you play in the middle of your stream. Maybe you pre-record a concept, or maybe you've got some other things going on to add a little level of value that kind of takes place of words coming out of your mouth. So think of it that way too. Okay, another question about third-party apps. So Victoria says, some third-party destinations don't always show all of the comments in StreamYard. Any tips for navigating this during the live stream? So there are a couple of things here. So I will say this, every once in a while, there will be bugs in the API, or the social media application has made some sort of update that's changed the code a little bit. And a lot of times those applications work with software companies ahead of time to let them know these changes are coming, so that the third-party application can, look at it this way. This is the way it works when the APIs work together. When something changes or they change a code, all of a sudden it can break the connection. It could be anything. It could be pictures. It could be comments, whatever. And until that code's fixed, they may have a disconnect in some of the features and functionality. So that sometimes is why that happens. Other times, it could also have to do with these users themselves. They may have a privacy setting set to their profile where it's not allowing their information to come through. And so that's another way that happens. The other thing is that not all, when you can push a stream out to another application, not all of them include bringing comments back. So some third-party applications or some destinations, I'll say, do not send back comments as part of the data that comes through the whole connection in the integration. So that could be it as well. Now, if you're seeing a major issue with it and you're feeling like there might be something wrong, then just reach out to the StreamYard support team and they can troubleshoot with you to make sure there's not something else going on. But that was a good question. So with that being said, we are close towards the end of the. Tish says Harris is nicer in person. Believe it or not, he is a very awesome person in person as well. All right, let me check in really quick. Just wanted to kind of check in on comments. I obviously wasn't looking at all the live comments, as I mentioned, because I wanted to get through those previously posted questions that were there. And it was really one of those things that I wanted to make sure I got through because I asked you guys to post those questions. So if you're just joining us, we're getting ready to close things down for today, but we talked about engagement. So I shared some tips on engagement. And so definitely make sure you go back and check that out. But essentially, I talk about engagement a lot on the show because it is one of the most important things we're doing. But the biggest thing I want to say is the engagement should not be focused on for the algorithms or for you to have success in the whole getting more reach and all that stuff. If you focus on that, you're going to lose touch, the emotional touch that you should be having and the emotional connection you're having with whatever it is you're talking about, but also with your audience. And so engagement is really key for you to build that relationship with your audience. And if you focus on that as a foundational focus, then it's kind of like all the other things will take care of themselves. I truly believe that. I do think analytics is important to pay attention to because it's good feedback, but it's not everything. And I do think engagement is important for you to get engagement so that more people can learn about what you do. So of course I want you to get the positive results in those algorithms and all those things. But at the same time, I just don't want you to lose touch with the real reason why we are engaging with our audience. And that is to get to know them and definitely to get deeper with your audience, which is really what I want you to be focusing on. And so I shared some things about engagement in the show. And then of course we just did some Q&A. And I really want to say that I wish I could go live for 2-3 hours today, like I do sometimes, but I just can't. Do have a time constraint. But I absolutely want to say I appreciate all of you. I appreciate all of my frequent flyers, as I talked about earlier in the show. And I'm so glad to see some of you coming back. I'm so glad to see some of you that are still here. And I just got to say, it's been such an awesome time doing this. I will tell you that I don't know what the next steps are for the content in the StreamYard channel and the platform, but I certainly hope to continue to be here. I absolutely want to. And I appreciate all of you that have been posting in the Facebook group about that. So I just wanted to kind of close out with a big, huge sense of gratitude for all of you for tuning in today and hanging out with us. But, until next time, which I believe will be here in a couple of weeks. Also, I'm going to be on the show next Thursday night with Rob Greenlee. So if you haven't checked out Rob's show that he does every Thursday night, make sure that you're checking that one out too. I'll be on the show next Thursday. And so I can see you guys then as well. So don't be a stranger out there. Definitely make sure you connect with me. And until next time, my friends, we're just going to have to close it out for this Friday. It's beautiful here in Indiana. Spring has finally sprung. And I got to tell you, I couldn't be happier about that. I seriously just couldn't be happier about it because spring is when I've come alive. It's like, let's go. I can do all the fun things. So hopefully you're enjoying everything in your life and everything's going well. Post your questions over in the StreamYard Facebook community if I didn't get to it today, or simply post when the show is over and we'll take care of you in the comments. All right, everybody. Take care. Have a good day.